Alright guys, TouchGrip back again today, having enjoyed your Tuesday so far, and today we've got to talk about these cheating accusations going around the CDL and the Challenger scene right now. Incredible situation really we find ourselves in. Want to talk about exactly how we got to this point and why people are talking about it, not only in the CDL but also majorly in the Challenger side, and why this is a possibility. A lot of this really came up given that Mutineers have just gone back to back, Awakening, like where the hell's he come from, and he's winning back-to-back championships, not yet lost a series in the online environment at least. So definitely worthy of discussion today. Intrigued to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below, but before we get into things, just want to say that look, this is an extraordinary claim that players at the peak of their powers in a very reputable esport like Call of Duty, you can talk about the game and whatever, but look, it's a high level, high profile esport. The fact that players right at the top of their game winning back-to-back championships could be cheating is an extraordinary claim, and in order to back this up, we're going to need some extraordinary evidence of which we don't yet have, right? So it's innocent until proven guilty. There's no way I'm going to go out and say that, look, these guys are definitely cheating. I don't believe that is the case at all. However, the discussion is still there to be had, especially around the amateur community. In my opinion. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. So that was just to clear up my point of view. Let's talk about exactly how we got to this point. So Slacks did this tweet a few weeks ago now. I heard from multiple sources, my guy uses a strike pack and cheats. What do you think? Twitter around Awakening when he joined the squad, since deleted, since retracted. Awakening then brought this up on stream, so he pulls up his controller showing that he's not using a strike pack or anything on the back, and also it's not connected to anything. There was some people looking at this gif and saying that it almost looks like he brings the controller down to his right and then puts his hand onto another controller, but then again, this is the blue one, so it should be the primary controller, so I don't know, could be some weird things going on, but like who knows, right? You probably think people are thinking about this too deeply. So look, Fastballer comes out with this a couple of days ago. Looks like I'm going to have to controller check, Cronus check every team I play next year on LAN. Mind-blowing stuff I'm hearing, but makes sense when looking at some of the results this year. Do I expose them? No way to stop it online. Would have to have a cam aimed at your PS4 ports. So look, what they're talking about here is not only strike pack. So a strike pack is you slap it on the back of your controller. It's like a cheap Scuff Battle Beaver alternative that gives you the paddles. However, it has mods built into it to give you like less recoil and all of this kind of stuff. However, in addition to this, people are also talking about the Cronus Max. This was a device which, the professional community has used for a while now. I think now they use like a Battle Beaver alternative, but effectively it allows you to have a wired connection between your controller and the PS4. Back in the day, there was always all sorts of Bluetooth issues at events there to introduce the Cronus. You guys might be saying, oh, well, on the PS4 now you can select a wired alternative when you plug your controller in, but that apparently has much worse input lag than if you use one of these Cronus Max devices, even though the input lag on those is kind of bad. So they've used them for a while. However, these Cronuses have some inbuilt settings into them, as Clayster says right here, such as an anti-recoil setting. And I'll show this on screen for you guys on the big screen, exactly what this does according to Skazy. So with no recoil on the left here or on the right-hand side, you fly up in the air with your MP5. The anti-recoil mod makes you dead as an arrow. So a lot of people are suggesting that players in the amateur community are abusing this, so they don't even have to control recoil. And obviously it's going to give you some sort of competitive advantage if you don't have to do that, and you can just beam across the map without even having to think about recoil. This is the accusation that people are saying that some players, either in the amateur or in the professional community, are abusing, right? So that's to clear everything up to start off the video. Then we have this from Profizi. Several players on top seeded teams bought Cronus Maxes for the anti-recoil and auto-strafe mods. I need names, gamer tags, I need them, says Profizi. Profizi and Fastballer were former professionals last year on the Accelerate team on the Black Ops 4 season. Pristini then replies, ams, sheesh, if true, COD community gotta be one of the greediest communities ever. Then we get more replies to this. Slasher got people taking drugs, so Slasher's been one of the guys talking about Adderall abuse for a long time in Call of Duty, and now Cronus hacking sheesh, it's in shambles, no competitive integrity anywhere. But Tristan Spoof comes out, also a reputable amateur professional player in the past. So much cap on the timeline right now, what's good with you all, basically saying that, look, this was in response really to what people were saying, that like none of this stuff is happening, but maybe this is because he's actually abusing it, right? So Fastballer, how is it cap? Why would anyone buy a Cronus for home that adds Imbus delay? Proof, I suppose, is always the question here. Then Theory replies with this tweet from Strawberry Lemonade, that being BZ, former professional player as well, on that same team. I've gotten messaged at least 10 times this week about who I sold Cronus Maxes to for supposedly this, the anti-recoil properties. Because look, if you're playing in a LAN environment, the referee referees can check that you're not using some dodgy stuff. You plug in your Cronus, and they can, I suppose, can see if you're accessing or you're adding these mods onto the game on LAN. Whereas online, how do you do it right? Everyone's playing from the comfort of their own bedroom. They can theoretically plug in whatever they want, change the settings to whatever degree they want, and no one's there to police it, right? You don't have referees in each of these guys' houses. It's not forced that you have to have your camera like facing at your PS4 port, as Clayster was saying, to make sure people aren't doing this. And what I will say is, I would not be surprised at all if some of the top amateur guys are doing this, right? Like, it doesn't surprise me. There's so much money on the line. If it's going to give you a slight edge for something which basically has no risk, because especially when you're in the amateur community, maybe they don't feel as much, like that morally it doesn't feel so bad when it's not a professional league. That's why I really don't think it's the case with Florida, because if you're winning these huge tournaments on the professional level and you're cheating, I think our pro players are better than that. Let's put it that way. But the amateur guys, I can definitely see it happening, right? So I imagine they're talking about some of these players that won the most recent Paris CDC event. So the guys in the Atlanta FaZe Academy, Triumph, like some of these players are probably the ones which people are accusing of using these potential glitches. And as Fastballer says, like, makes sense when you look at some of the results this season. So he's kind of implying that some of the teams that are winning this season wouldn't be doing so without this, with this cheat which they are supposedly using. I wonder if it's being used in the European region as well. Definitely possible, but we haven't really heard anything about that. Of course, Singularity and Team War have been the big names in the European region so far this season, and down in the APAC region as well, with Renegades keep on winning, but who knows what's going on here, right? You've even got this guy called Cronus Khan on this Rift Nation squad, right? So then we get this from a couple of days ago now, Blaz talking about the following, and I believe all this is just bait and drama, but surrounding this whole Florida Mutineers situation that they were going off at the weekend, Blaz then tweets, just got confirmation a pro player is cheating. For anyone asking, it's me. Hollow just got information of someone that's actually cheating. Wild, Joey Nubsy just got woken up by Amseen going ballistic about cheaters. Just know, we know, kind of implying that they're doing it. But as Credit CDL Intel says, it seems like they are trolling the timeline, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case indeed. But this is where it really comes full circle when we talk about the Florida Mutineers. So this guy Awakening, come off the offline community when he's played on LAN in the past, and really hasn't had great results, right? You look at Black Ops 4, you look at Modern Warfare, hasn't had anything spectacular. We did have this event at Miami, the amateur finals last year, was pretty solid on the Excalibur squad, but he comes straight into the starting lineup of the Florida Mutineers online and just dominates, right? Just takes over in terms of the KD department. They absolutely crushed the event, 3-1 against Dallas. They went 12-3 map count all weekend for the first team this season to win back-to-back championships. First team, of course, in the CDL overall. Then you've got EasyMac comes out and says, look, these are what the scoreboards look like. Skies at a 1.42, Awakening with a 1.24 over the course of the weekend. So, a lot of people are looking at this thinking something fishy is going on here in the CDL. But of course, it requires extraordinary evidence to make a claim like that. So I just can't see how this is the case unless we get some evidence to come out. And I wonder what the CDL exactly could do for this, right? Are they going to force players to have cameras looking at their looking at the front of their PS4s? Like, when it does go back to LAN for champs, like, what's going to happen? Are Florida just going to massively fall off? Like, what exactly are the consequences of this? There's obviously a lot of things to discuss here. Awakening then says LAN versus Mind Freak. So he was talking about how last year at the amateur finals he dropped 45 on these guys, and you get this from Skies, how he showed his controller up to the camera showing he wasn't cheating and all of this kind of stuff. So look, I don't think it's the case. Thanks to Manny for pointing this out to me from ZooMaa. Interesting. I don't think Florida is cheating at all. Just didn't expect a finals like that. Congrats to all those guys. They played very well. So look, that's the accusation as it stands right now. Some people thinking that something dodgy is going on in Florida. I would not be surprised at all if something like this is going on in the amateur community, but I just think better of our professional players, and I think that without extraordinary evidence, I don't think that we can happily say that this is the case, especially when we look back in the past and we look at a team like E-United in the Infinite Warfare season. Like, the guys of Gunless, Brasini, Arcetes, and Silly, that squad who early on in the 2017 season were just crushing OpTic Gaming online, and then they went to the first tournament in Atlanta and did it again when they were winning all these online tournaments, or at least making it far in 2Ks against the likes of OpTic Gaming players that people had never heard of, like Gunless, Bunless. Like, who is this guy, right? All that being considered, they went to LAN, and yes, people online called them keyboarders, called them cheaters, called them onliners, all this kind of stuff, went to LAN and won the event, right? So look, it's possible that players that we haven't really heard of, that haven't really done too much in the past, and honestly, a lot of these Florida guys have done some stuff in the past, the likes of Pharaoh, Skies, for example, last season, Frosty, of course, in Halo, like Havoc's been a good player for a number of years. It's only really Awakening that's kind of new to the scene. A lot of people are looking at this team and saying the same old things that they've said for a lot of players in the past, that when they've gone to LAN, they they have eventually proved themselves on the biggest stage, as did the United squad in the Infinite Warfare season. So look, I don't think this is the case. It's certainly possible that players that you know, have a better grasp on the game than some of the more reputable professional players, absolutely 100% that can certainly happen. So yeah, intrigued to hear your thoughts on this down in the comment section below. As I say, without some you know, big evidence coming out from a lot of these professional players or whatever, we're going to have to see something better. But with the CDL step in here, I wonder what they could even do for the Challengers side, because when you look at it from a Challengers perspective, it's very tough to see what they could even think about doing, right? Because can they get people to have cams on their PS4s? Like, no. Surely you could just set up a cam on another PS4 you have running somewhere else and still have the Cronus plugged in. It's basically impossible to police, right, if you try and do it in the online environment. Could they make that happen for professionals, or do they just kind of trust their pros to be straight up about stuff like this? Maybe that's the case as well. So yeah, I don't really know what to do here. Just to finish off the video then, wanted to talk about this other potential type of cheating, which came out from Celium that people have been talking about. So Celium is currently getting aim assist through a wall to see if someone's pushing. That's talent. I'll share the clip on screen for you guys, again, as I did yesterday. And if I didn't really talk about it in too much depth, effectively what he's doing here is he's laying down, and yes, the other players can actually see his red name through this wall, which is kind of tragic. Like, if you guys have played this Piccadilly map quite a lot and you go over to this ticket booth, you'll realize that it's kind of buggy one way or another. But look, Celium lays down, he swipes his aim clearly deliberately, I think, back and forth, left and right, to just notice when he gets some sort of slowdown on an enemy, then he knows they're there so he can stand up and shoot, right? So this kind of stuff, like, is this cheating? Is this exploiting a game mechanic to a degree it shouldn't be exploited? Of course, you know, we can reference the whole Clayster video from Black Ops 3. Is this an unintended line of sight? Is this, you know, there's a ledge you can mantle on it, if you guys remember that classic video from Call of Duty history. But yeah, like, all that being considered, it seems to me this is probably just a game exploit which you shouldn't really be able to abuse, right? Something that shouldn't particularly be the case. Obviously, it's unintentional that this is in the game. You shouldn't be getting aim assist through a solid wall like this, but it's been pretty buggy since the game first came out. So is this the actual only extent of cheating we're seeing within the CDL? I suppose you can argue so. But yeah, intrigued to hear your thoughts on this whole Cronus Max anti-recall kind of situation. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if it's going on in the amateur scene, but I just don't think it's affecting professional players right now. At least that's my opinion. But, you know, it's certainly possible that it is. It would just be it would be an incredible scandal, frankly, if that was indeed the case. And we're going to need some major evidence to prove that it is. Intrigued to hear your thoughts down below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.